So, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is COMM 4480 Global News Media Section 2, Semester 1, 2021 and 22, Department of Communication. Myself is Hassan Muhammad Likon on 627-505. And I'm presenting on the topic a study on issues in the global segment of a selected new online newspaper, which is the Daily Pakistan. So the introduction of the topic is, as we know, some things we need to know here. These are the things we need to know. Yeah, about how the newspaper started and when it started to publish news. Beside the Daily Pakistan, as we know that in the top five newspaper in the Daily Pakistan ranking. So Daily Pakistan is one of the the common newspaper that is repeatable in Pakistan. There are 32 newspaper companies, and in this report we are will be looking the Daily Pakistan newspaper with the second assignment 14 days news and first assignment for 21 days news. So we have covered, we have collected lots of news that have been published by the Daily Pakistan newspaper. After getting the news, so we have to gather it, identify what kind of news they are on, and not only that, in any country they have their own media policy and regulation that have been set by the government rules. So this assignment, we shall compare the news coverage report made, you know. For the part one and part two, for the part one and the part two, and you see, this is the research, our objective of the study, to investigate if there is any news that is that didn't follow the media policy, and to identify the political and economical social culture of Pakistan, to investigate what kind of news has been published. And you see the problem statement in our study is, as we know, many news platforms in the country have failed to comply media policy and standard in the news published or broadcast. To identify these problems, these people shall investigate whether the data collected from the news are facing this issue, and how it is being addressed by implementing global news media standards. And the next slide is significant of the study. So our study basically focusing the selective newspaper policy, which enlights the readers and awareness about the Daily Pakistan published news. That will help us to understand the critical and interesting issue about the media patterns utilized by Pakistan journalists by covering newspaper for the Daily Pakistan. Yeah. So this study is based on world segments which influence individual and unity in the Pakistan context. After that, the methodology. Yeah. So for the methodology, the research, our paper proposed to quantitative method that helps to understand and global news media segments, especially the world news covered by the Daily Pakistan. And the data the data from the coding sheet was refined to make the eligible to be the processing statistical package for social science SPSS, which is, and the frequency mean bar chart which is produced by the SPSS application. The section methodology provides the idea, data collection, and the data analysis. So as we see the data collection here, the data collection was coded and analyzed using the statistical for the social sciences software, and the collected data was analyzed in 4 steps, like constructing a coding frame which is given by our teacher, and applying the coding frame to select the contents, and quantitative data analysis, and using the theme analysis approach to interpret data. And the data analysis we used a combined method of content analysis and analyzing the data. This study was mixed quantitative and quantitative research techniques. We also investigated the content. of Pakistan newspaper. And establishing the frame of coding, applying the coding frame, selective to quantitative data analysis, interpreting data using thematic analysis method. Yeah. And finding the next slide is the finding and discussions. This section basically the above mentioned pie charts says categories of which news was published in the data collected in assignment 1 and 2. The second pie chart shows the data collected along with the percentage of each category in assignment. In the highest categories was the category crime, which is 23.91%. Then it was politics 21.74%, and third highest portion on the category of news COVID-19, which was 10.64%. On the other hand, if you look at the second, the first assignment, it was politics about 21.74%, and the third highest portion was the category of news COVID-19, which was 16%, 64%. Yeah. While the assignment, the second highest categories were the politics, the politics, which is 27.66%. Then the second category crime was related here, 19.62%. Then the third category is so receiving major attention by the news media or the Daily Pakistan, which was really the COVID-19, as we find out here. And we already compared that the collected data. As for Newsland, the previous report was equal portion of positive and negative news. On the other hand, the current report, the majority were negative news, and then the positive news. Yeah. So after that, you see here is the conclusion part. So global news coverage comes in many different categories, as we saw before in the pie chart. There are international, political, crimes, environmental, sports, entertainment, and so many. However, that different media news like portion varies time to time depending on the positivity and negativity and neutrality of the news. So therefore, the important have to access too many different newspaper to gain access and holistic, fair perspective, different global issues. Media have many bias and partial information, many categories, especially when it comes to politics, conflict, and or covers the crime report. And in this assignment, we have used the framing theory. As we know, the framing theory can be applied which influence the reader or the audience how they process the news delivered to them. Two same news can be presented in different way by different newspaper, which will impact how audience will react and accept the news. Especially news related politics or crimes have to on side of the coin and be biasness of the reporter or those presenting news on the media impact content or framing theory. Yeah, I think that's all for me. That's all for my presentation. Yeah, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.